Your first knife isn't the last you'll ever need. You've got to invest not just in a knife, but in a journey of mastery that comes with it. I've got you covered. Hello my fellow chef knife enthusiasts. People often ask me what to keep in mind when purchasing a top-notch kitchen knife. As a knife consultant at the Meesterslijper showroom, it's my job to provide answers to these culinary conundrums. How does one go about selecting a kitchen knife? Where should you look? Which knife deserves a spot in your kitchen? What's the best brand? These queries have answers as diverse as a spice rack. There's an ocean of exceptional knives out there, spanning a sea of price ranges and tailored to all sorts of cooking tasks. I am going to try and dissect the mental recipe behind pinpointing what you truly want and need in your culinary sidekick. You might have recently pledged your allegiance to investing in a quality Japanese blade. You're ready to splurge, but the question looms: where do you even start? The labyrinth of choices is overwhelming, and you're unsure about what to look for. Lucky for you, we harbor one of the grandest assortments of Japanese knives in the world right here in our showroom at Meesterslijpers. This space is my personal slice of knife heaven. Who needs an office with a view when your office is the view?
What's the best knife?
This is literally the question that some people ask me when entering my domain. The knife I prefer might be as incompatible with your grip as socks with sandals. When you're gearing up to invest in a splendid Japanese knife, it's time to delve into some introspection. Taking a moment to ponder your own personality is crucial. We often rush through life without considering the why behind our actions, even before major decisions like buying a knife. I'm a strong advocate for pausing and reflecting on these things. It equips me to assist you in making informed, savvy choices. Ultimately, that's the end game, helping you choose a knife that syncs perfectly with your cooking style and needs. When folks are embarking on their journey into the realm of Japanese knives, it might be tempting to desire the Porsche, the Ferrari, or the Lamborghini of knives. When it comes to the inaugural Japanese knife, I'd say opt for a reliable used car model, because it fits the budget, which is crucial, but beyond that, it's like the car you learn to drive in. Your first knife isn't the last you'll ever need. To slice and dice like a pro with a top-tier Japanese knife, you've got to become a master chef behind the wheel.
So you always try to sell the bee's knees?
People might assume that acquiring an ultra-premium knife is the linchpin to elevating their culinary game. Considering my gig as a knife peddler at the Meesterslijper showroom, you would think I would be the #1 proponent of that notion. Let me drop a truth bomb. I don't entirely buy into that concept. When you grace our showroom as a customer, I'm not on a mission to upsell you the creme de la creme of knives. I'm not driven by the desire to empty your pockets on a blade that might not be your slice of pie. In fact, I'm not even set on selling you a knife at all. The minute you walk into a store, when it feels like a place that is completely focused on selling you something, anything, they've missed the essence of what a shopping experience should be. Like the great street artist Banksy always said and sprayed, the joy of not being sold anything. The joy of not being sold anything. My focus will never be the hard sell. It's about creating a haven where you feel at ease and understood. A sanctuary teeming with insights and passion. A place where queries are met with precise answers, or the best advice I can come up with at that moment. My sole purpose? To guide you towards the knife that fits you like a glove. The knife that screams you. It all boils down to one thing: skill and technique. Skill and technique reigns supreme. A great set of tools is like the cherry on top, but only if you got the skills and techniques to back it up. So here's the real deal. If you're going to put your focus somewhere, it shouldn't solely be on acquiring top-of-the-line gear. Your attention should zero in on how you wield those tools and your understanding of how things function in the culinary universe. Personally, I've got a soft spot for every Japanese knife in my private collection. Slicing, dicing, and chopping with them is a pure joy. However, these knives won't always be a snug fit for everyone's kitchen adventures. This is why I believe in going deep with our customers in the showroom. Introspection. I want to grasp who they are as individuals, what is their kitchen style, What are they loving or hating about their current knives? Are their knives too bulky, too airy-fairy light, or just too darn thick and wedging all the time? Do they even want to give their blades a sharpening session themselves? Or are they eager to dip their toes into the art of sharpening? It's like uncovering a mystery plot. Only this one is set in the kitchen. It's about getting inside their culinary psyche and understanding what floats their kitchen boat. From there, step by step, and trust me, there's quite a ladder to climb, I've got a canvas to paint upon. I will navigate them toward their perfect knife match, whether you are a seasoned samurai of slicing or a budding blade whisperer. I've got you covered.
What's the big deal with these Japanese knives?
Good question. What is the deal with Japanese knives? Why are they the talk of the town? They are usually much skinnier and crafted from much harder steel compared to their Western counterparts. There's more to these knives than meets the eye, but let's focus on these two heavy hitters that initially set them apart. Thin knives, they glide through ingredients like a skater on ice. Minimal resistance, no annoying wedging, no awkward stickiness. In simpler terms, it's just a smoother slice. Now the steel game. The harder steel these Japanese beauties are forged with allow for sharper angles, which translates to a sharper knife that can also hold onto that edge for a considerable stretch of time. And these aren't just hypothetical advantages. These are real quantifiable things that folks can appreciate and enjoy immediately. But let's clear the air on something though. Harder steel doesn't mean it's the Chuck Norris of knives. Toughness and durability is a function of thickness and softness of the steel. I think people often confuse those things. They think harder steel is more durable. This is not the case. Softer steels are like the cushiony marshmallows of the knives world. They can absorb shocks like a champ, they can take some abuse at the cutting board, but harder steels, they're the prima donnas. They're fantastic at slicing and dicing with precision, but treat them like a piñata and you might be picking up knife confetti. Look at the diamond. It's hard, right? It's really hard, but it's also as brittle as a reality TV star's ego. Hit it the wrong way and you've got a million sparkling shards. Japanese knives made from super hard steel can be like that. One wrong move and it's crack and chip city. You don't want to hit really hard things with these brittle knives. You don't want to use excessive force. That kind of stuff can cause damage. No need for fruit ninja theatrics. Think of your knife's edge as its Achilles heel. It's thin, it's vulnerable. Be a smooth operator like Sade. Push cut and pull cut. Preferably no rocking motions. That is the biggest one to worry about. Rocking motions. They can cause damage. Rocking and rolling with a thin and hard Japanese knife is like dancing in stilettos. It's possible, it's just not ideal. Because the edge of your knife is always in contact with your cutting surface as you're moving laterally across it. Let's talk about lateral force. Your knife's kryptonite. Lateral force movements against the edge, there's pressure coming from across the edge and directly upon the edge. That occurs very often at the edge of your knife, where it is the thinnest and therefore most vulnerable and brittle.
So are there no tough and durable Japanese knives out there?
Sure, they're out there, they're just not exactly the norm. But every task you tackle with mad skills can be conquered with a Japanese knife. If you've got the moves of a master, you'll slice through anything like a breeze. But let's face it, not all of us are a culinary Bruce Lee. If you're not quite at the black belt level of knife skills, be a bit cautious. Those super thin, super hard Japanese knives are really delicate. You might end up with more chips than at a poker game. Keep those lateral forces in check. Just cut with grace, finesse, and avoid any rough twirls. Remember, it's all about the skill and technique.
What about the cross-sectional geometry of a knife?
Alright, Kitty, you're asking all the right questions. Let's talk geometry. You see, the way your knife tapers from spine to edge is like the superhero cape of the culinary world. Is it thin? Is it thick? Is it convex grind? Is it hollow grind? The answer determines whether your kitchen experience is smooth sailing or more like a food fight. There are multiple different cross-section geometries that will dictate how well a knife is suitable to cut through certain specific things. Once your knife is mingling with ingredients, it's all about cross-sectional geometry. When it comes to slicing and dicing, we're in the realm of physics. You can't just wave a knife and expect it to defy the laws of nature. We're talking about displacement here. Thicker knives are like the bull in the china shop, bulldozing through ingredients with more material to push around. Thinner knives are like the elegant dancer, making smooth moves and displacing less material. They don't push around ingredients as much. If a knife thickens quickly above the edge, it's like trying to sprint through molasses. But when a knife stays thin behind the edge, the joy of cutting with finesse, liberating. You can't mess with the rules of cutting physics. Get your knives in line with these principles. If you're diving into the world of Japanese knives for the first time, don't start with the culinary equivalent of skydiving without a parachute. As your first Japanese knife, I would not advise a Kai Kobayashi, Shibata Kotetsu, or any knife ground and sharpened by an Naoki Miyoji, who is famous for his thin grinds and super refined sharp edges. Those super thin, super hard knives are not beginner knives. So again, what is the best knife? There is no right answer to that. I think the concept of best and worst are a failed way of thinking in the first place. Life just ain't that simple. It's like trying to paint the whole canvas with black and white when the world is a beautiful explosion of colors. Life doesn't come with a universal best badge that you can just slap on things. It's all about your own personal flavor. Like choosing between pizza with pineapples or without. Both options have their own gang of enthusiasts. So, let's diss this notion that there's a supreme ruler of knives or anything else. It's more like finding your soulmate in the cutlery aisle. And guess what? Just like in dating, there is no one size fits all. Ask yourself, what do I need this knife for? How skilled am I? What's my kitchen vibe like? It's like, get the one that suits you, your skills, your cooking style, and your kitchen setup. There are so many good options out there. So here's the deal. When I dive into conversations with you about these fancy Japanese knives, I'm not there to brainwash you into a specific way of thinking. If I can serve up a hearty plate of cutting knowledge, like the Michelin star chef of information, then I'm a happy camper. I want you to get the scoop on the slicing secrets. It's not just about selling you a knife. It's about arming you with the knife know-how, equipping you with a kitchen Jedi toolkit. Before you dive headfirst into the ocean of chef knives, there's a question that needs some pondering. How deep are you willing to dive into this culinary pool? How much time, effort, care and maintenance are you willing to put up with relative to the level of performance that you expect from a knife? It's all about finding the harmony between your knife's performance and the effort you're willing to invest in it. That is the golden rule. The fancier the knife, the higher its demands on you as the wielder. Let that sink in. The deeper you fall into the rabbit hole, the more you fork over for a blade, the more it'll ask of you. When you ascend to the upper echelons of cutlery, your skills, your knife know-how, your care regimen becomes pivotal. Using and caring for a top-tier knife comes with responsibility. When you're holding an exquisite, pricey blade in your hands, know that nothing stays razor sharp forever. We've got to put in the effort to maintain that pristine slice, to keep the magic alive. You've got to invest not just in a knife, but in the journey of mastery that comes with it. The million-dollar question is, are people game for diving into the intricacies I'm laying out there? Are they ready to go full dork and nerdy when it comes to the art of sharpening? Are we talking a full-on hobbyist vibe, or is sharpening merely a means to an end for them? Once I've got a handle on the sharpening vibe, I switch gears and peek into their chopping sanctuaries. What's the cutting surface like? Is it big or small? What's their kitchen vibe? Is it a cozy nook, or are they rolling in the space-rich domain of a grand kitchen island? I need all the deeds. Did they have any past knife misadventures? Did they have chips galore? Have they unintentionally broken tips? Did they bend stuff? How they hold the knife? The cutting techniques they deploy? What they're slicing, dicing and mincing? Is it high acid, dense, soft, starchy, sticky or protein packed? Bone in, bone out? Are they all about precision cutting, aiming for dices as uniform as soldiers in formation? Again, I want to know it all. Picture this. You're tackling towering, dense ingredients like sweet potatoes or carrots Here's the scoop. Opt for a somewhat slimmer knife. It'll make light work of those hard-hitting tasks. But hold on a sec. If you're the type who gives their knives a bit of a pounding, who always goes at it with a bit of muscle, then laser thin isn't your game. You're in the market for a hulking, robust, rugged companion, a blade that can take a pounding. Now let's switch gears and take a peek into your kitchen habitat. Are you an Amsterdam-based home cook working your magic in a cozy corner? Because that's what my little kitchen in Amsterdam is, nothing more than a corner in my apartment. Or are you in the ranks of a Michelin-starred restaurant, orchestrating culinary symphonies at your own spacious, well-organized, fully equipped and dedicated station? These factors dictate the type of blade that's the best fit for you.
What about stainless versus carbon steel?
Again, good question. One of the first questions I ask our customers here in the Meesterslijper showroom: have you ever danced with a carbon steel blade before? A lot of those stunning Japanese knives are carbon steel, hardened to epic proportions. Western knives, on the other hand, often rock the softer stainless steel vibe. Stainless steel, in a nutshell, it owes its resistance to rust and stains to a healthy dose of chromium. This chromium oxide layer shields your blade from the acidic onslaught of onions, tomatoes, and all those zesty suspects. This means less reactivity, less rust, a win-win. However, stainless steel can't get as sharp and it will get dull faster than a carbon steel knife. Now, when you're slicing and dicing with a carbon steel blade, the acidic ingredients are like party crashers. They react with the carbon steel, resulting in patina, kind of like the knife's own personal tattoo. And if you're not careful, this chemistry experiment can turn into Rust City. Learning to coexist with carbon steel knives is no rocket science. It does require some patience, some adjustments, and a bit of know-how, but no need to break a sweat. It's just understanding the realm in which you're operating and grasping the basics of what's happening when you're cutting, caring for, and maintaining such a blade. And let's not forget why carbon steel blades are such rock stars. They're easy to sharpen, a master at getting sharp, and often keep the edge longer than their stainless steel counterparts. Yes, there are some modern stainless steel wonders out there, but carbon steel just has that edge, pun intended. But if you're all about those acidic ingredients, cutting lemons and limes all day for your cocktails, and you've got a carbon blade, maybe, just maybe, it's time to switch lanes and opt for a stainless steel. That's why I want to know, have you danced with carbon steel before? Are you willing to embrace its quirks and charms? Because here's the deal, if you averse to the carbon steel world, I can help narrow down your options like a heat-seeking missile. More than 65%, or maybe even more, of all the knives we sell in here are made with carbon steel. So we can immediately whisk away those carbon blades and focus solely on the stainless steel wonders that await. So that covers quickly what the difference of stainless and carbon steel is. But let's get back a little bit, because we can't talk enough about your kitchen habitat. What's your turf like? Are you a pro chef, whipping up masterpieces with the clock ticking like it's a drumbeat? Or are you a home cook, ruling your culinary kingdom at your own pace? You're the boss of time. You can set the tempo. If you feel like slow motion dicing, you do you. But hold the spatula, there might be distractions. Maybe you have a pet, maybe there is a little one doing toddler gymnastics, or a partner who unknowingly throws your knife into the dishwasher. Life's curveballs. But in the world of home cooking, no impatient patrons at the table. No angry orders hanging over your head. It's your kitchen, your rules. If you are a pro cook, it's a different ballgame. It's like a culinary Formula 1 race. Every freaking second counts. The clock is your eternal companion and enemy, and there's no room for slacking. Let's say you're a pro chef who doesn't quite share my knife nerd enthusiasm. If you're in the fast lane, hustling to get orders out like a machine, I'm going to steer you towards a blade that doesn't demand constant pampering. No brittle, high-maintenance divas. You need a dependable partner that can take a beating and still perform like a rock star. There's no time for babying a knife when you're juggling orders. And heaven forbid, someone else borrows your tool without realizing its worth? No, hell no. In the more refined, fine dining world, the pace might be a tad more genteel. You might be surrounded by colleagues who understand the delicate balance of chef and blade, appreciating the tools of the trade as much as you do. Different styles of knives will be more or less suitable in different types of work environments.
Why does all this matter so much to you?
The knife you choose becomes an extension of your culinary soul. It's not just about a blade, it's about a tool that resonates with your style, your environment, and your culinary vision. One guy's meticulously dicing a brunoise, meticulously executing every move with a surgeon's precision, each cube perfect as a piece of Lego. The other dude, rough chop and wok baby, turning out masterpieces with a sense of controlled chaos. Two different worlds, right? So who is getting the delicate precision laser knife and who is snagging a dependable workhorse? These are just the extremes, mind you. Reality often falls somewhere in between the lines, but pinpointing your place on the culinary spectrum is key. Your choice of blade isn't about being a care and maintenance fanatic. It's about getting a partner that matches your culinary vibe. There is a treasure trove of solid options out there, but you've got to know yourself to navigate this.
How much?
You could dump a small fortune on Japanese knife blade. Easily. If you're balling, do your thing. But guess what? You don't have to. There's a sweet spot where your wallet and quality meet. Spending top dollar does not always equate to equivalent jumps in performance, diminishing returns. In the sub $100 range, you'll find some decent blades, but not necessarily the holy grail. Bump it up to between $100 and $250, and I think you're in this sweet spot of bang for your buck territory right there. And before you dive in, figure out what you actually need. Don't just get one of those complete knife block sets, the infamous knife block set. Hey, you need 25 knives for all those imaginary tasks you might do once in a lifetime. How did this knife block frenzy even become a thing? Did someone think we were hosting a cooking show in our kitchens? Now, I get it. The allure of having all your culinary soldiers lined up in a block, ready for action. It's like a chef's dream. But let's call a spade here. Most of those knives will probably never leave the knife block. It's like you bought a football team, but only play with the star player. Instead of that massive knife block, let's focus on the essentials. Let's be real. You're probably using two knives more than anything else. The big bad Kyuto and its sidekick, the petite patty.
So, just a big knife and a small knife.
Correct. When you're about to embark on your first knife hunting journey, let's keep it simple. Big knife, small knife, done and dusted. Knife shopping solved. Let's not kid ourselves. I'm not going to show up to work with a knife roll that could supply an entire chef army. That's not how it should be done. So remember my mistake and curb the temptation to own every blade under the sun. Don't be like me, Mr. I've got a knife for every mood. Trust me, I know I might have gone a bit overboard with my collection. That's because I'm professionally irresponsible. And well, I find knives really cool. But you're smarter than that. Keep it focused. As long as you've got a sizable chef's knife and a trusty petty knife, you're golden. That combo will handle 90% of your kitchen shenanigans, whether you're whipping up Michelin star worthy dishes or trying not to set off the smoke alarm at home. A big knife struts in at 210mm and 240mm and 270mm. If the thought of wielding a 240mm Gyuto or a 270mm Gyuto or maybe even a 210mm Gyuto is intimidating you, a Santoku might be your wingman. Just don't mistake its small stature for a free pass to food utopia. Santokus were crafted for the cozy kitchens of Japan, not the bustling chaos of a Western chef's domain. A Santoku might be great for dainty julienne cuts in Japan, but in our Western culinary world, where portions are more like a feast, it's a bit like showing up to a sword fight with a butter knife. Trying to slice a watermelon with a Santoku, you'll have to cut part of the way through the thing and then have to rotate it to finish the cut. What is that? Just get a bigger knife and call it a day. Now, if you're thinking, hey, I'm new here and the 240mm Gyuto looks like a skyscraper on my cutting board, relax. Rome wasn't iced in a day. Learning to wield a substantial blade is a skill. You practice, you improve, and eventually you'll wield that giant blade like a samurai on a mission. Size does matter when it comes to knives. The bigger the knife, the bigger the culinary playground. Effortlessly conquer larger-than-life veggies. Flaunt that length for some fancy slicing moves. Big knife. But also small knife, right? Let's not forget about the unsung hero, the petty knife. It might not be great for big cabbages and watermelons, but they are great for in-hand jobs like peeling and tourneing, and they are still big enough to rock the cutting board for those trimming and dicing moments. The petty knife is the yin to your big knife's yang, restoring balance in your culinary universe. Well, there you have it, Gyuto and Petty, the two knives that'll tackle 90% of your kitchen escapades. It's not about owning every knife ever invented, but if you're the bread king, you do enough bread to justify having a serrated bread sword, get one and wield that serrated bread sword like a boss. Or if you're all about barbecuing, you're probably going to convince yourself that you need a slicer and a boning knife. And if veggies are your jam, nakiris, chukobachos, and Chinese cleavers are your veggie slicing superheroes.
But why would I choose a Western or Japanese knife again?
Let's dive into the ultimate culinary showdown. Western versus Japanese knives. We've got the German giants like Victorinox, Wusthof, Wheeling and Henkel's strutting their stuff alongside the chic French Sabatier. Dependable, classic, perfect for slicing your way through a schnitzel or a croissant. They're the kind of knives that make you say, I don't need fancy, I need to get stuff done. For those of you who wouldn't trade your bratwurst for sushi any day, these Western knives are your knights in shining armor. They will allow you to cut in ways that Japanese knives won't. I mean, they can rock and roll with a rocking motion without breaking a sweat, because they are not that brittle. You can easily break down a chicken with your Western chef's knife. No need for a Honeseki sidekick. But hang on, sushi samurais, don't feel left out. Japanese knives are all about finesse. They're the Bruce Lees of the knife world. Swift, precise, and in a class of their own. These babies are like the sports cars of knives. Now, on to a juicy revelation, the enchanting lightness of Japanese knives. It's like comparing a featherweight boxer to a sumo wrestler. When you hold a Japanese knife, there is a magical sensation that your arm isn't secretly bench pressing the Eiffel Tower. Take a 270mm Gyuto for instance. All of a sudden, a larger Gyuto feels way more nimble because there is not as much weight.
So, what's exactly the difference between yo and wa handles?
You might have heard of the terms yo and wa handle. The construction, aesthetics, and functionality of these handles can significantly impact the overall experience of using a knife. Japanese handles are a tale of beauty, convenience, and a touch of elegance. Now, many of you out there in the West might have been taught that a full tang handle on a knife is as necessary as caffeine in the morning. I, for one, don't drink coffee, and here's the twist. It's definitely not an unbreakable rule. Sure, a full tang handle can be stable and, well, decent, but guess what? The Japanese handles say, hold my sake. They don't play by the same handle rules. Japanese knife handles mainly come in three different shapes. The D-shaped handle, the octagonal shaped handle, and the oval shaped handle. Those wa-handled Japanese knives, they've got a little trick up their sleeve. A knife with a wa handle will usually feel a little bit front heavy. They lean forward like they're itching for action because their handles are a lot lighter, their tang is shorter, and they're only halfway in the handle. Of course, this means that the whole knife is lighter overall. Now you don't need a kung fu grip to get things done. And then there's the aesthetic part. A beautiful piece of wood, and for added pizzazz, a chunk of buffalo horn as the crop or ferrule of the handle. Then the tang of the knife gets cozy in the wood and they set the whole thing on fire, metaphorically of course. This fiery embrace creates a friction fit that holds the tang so tight you would think it's practicing for a limbo competition. It is stability with a touch of craftsmanship flair. Now, let's talk convenience. When your wa handle decides to take a walk on the wild side, you can simply give it a tap on the shoulder and boom, off it goes.
Can't you replace yo handles too?
Well, absolutely, but here's the catch. It's like the difference between calling in a handy neighbor for help versus summoning a whole team of expert renovators. Wa handles are like the quick and savvy change, no drilling rivets, no removing scales, no reshaping marathons, just a neat little handle swap. While yo handles are the full-blown intensive home makeover. And trust me, finding a handle renovation wizard is harder than finding a roommate with bad knife skills. Now, I'm not here to knock Western yo handles. They've got their charm, like that one vintage vinyl record you've been holding on to. Western yo handles have their own advantages, such as the sense of stability that comes from a full tank construction and the familiarity that many Western cooks have with this style of handle. But wa handles? Oh, they're the smooth jazz of the knife world to me. My own preference for wa handles just showcases how the handle type can significantly impact the overall appeal of a knife to an individual user. I've got this vintage Sukehisa 330mm Gyuto with a yo handle and a bolster. Yuck! But it's like a piece of kitchen history and I just couldn't resist. Finding a gem like that is rarer than a polite online comment section on YouTube. But for all the other knives in my collection, wa handles are where the party's at for me. Ultimately, the choice between wa and yo handles often comes down to personal preference. Some individuals may prefer the traditional and aesthetic appeal of the wa handle, while others might value the familiarity and robustness of a yo handle. I for one have a deep appreciation for these nuances and can guide my customers based on their preferences and needs, helping them find knives that not only perform well but also resonate with their personal style and values.
All these Japanese knives look so different. What's that all about?
The dazzling world of Japanese knife finishes. So you've entered the realm of Japanese kitchen knives and suddenly you're faced with a blade beauty contest. You will notice that the surfaces of Japanese knives can look quite different. When it comes to Japanese knives, the finish game is strong and diverse. The traditional artistry of Japanese knife making has given birth to various finishes that go from rustic, chic to polished elegance. Each one tells a different story about the blade's journey from raw material to kitchen superstar. You've got Kurouchi, Nashiji, Migaki, Damascus, and Tsuchime, each with its own personality. Let's start with Kurouchi. Kurouchi translates to the blacksmith's finish. The Kurouchi finish is the least refined of these Japanese kitchen knife finishes. It is a traditional and rustic finish where the knife will retain the black scaly residue from the forging process. It's like the blacksmith just went close enough and called it a day. Because it is not refined, the black forged patina of the Kurouchi finish is relatively low cost, and it drastically cuts down on the cost of production. These Kurouchi knives therefore tend to be a little bit cheaper. It also confers certain properties to the knife. For example, it will minimize the reactivity of a carbon steel knife, and the final knife piece will have quite some character. It will have a certain rustic charm and aesthetic that appeals highly to a certain kind of chef and discerning knife enthusiasts in general. There's also great variety in their appearance, uniformity and resilience. They really look unique and no two knives will have the exact same Kurouchi finish. On the flip side, Kurouchi finish has degrees of resilience and some will wear off more easily than others, particularly if you clean them with an abrasive material. To retain this finish for much longer, it is advisable to clean them using a non-abrasive washing material. Next finish up is Nashiji. Nashiji is the pear skin pattern. The finish imitates the skin of the Asian pear. This finish provides a little texturing on the knife that is very pleasant to hold. It's smooth yet rugged. It is not as rustic as Kurouchi, but not as polished as your mom's fancy silverware. It's the perfect balance between the two. Speaking of polished, Migaki. Migaki is a finish that makes the blade look like it hit the spot, but didn't do the full treatment. It's polished, but not quite mirror-like, more like those sunglasses that hide your hangover. Besides, there will be some variance in the degree of the polishing from one bladesmith to the next. The degree of the reflectiveness in the Migaki knives will therefore vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. Some manufacturers achieve an almost mirror-like polish, while others do a cloudy polished finish. The more polished the knife, the more conspicuous the scratches on the knife will be, and this will ultimately ruin the aesthetic appeal. The textured finishes such as Damascus, Nashiji and Kurouchi are much better at hiding scratches and are therefore more likely to retain a constant aesthetic over extended usage. Now next is a banger, the Tsuchime finish. If your blade was a rock star, Tsuchime would be the hipster musician. It's hand-hammered cool, uneven, textured, and absolutely unique. Tsuchime entails hammering the knife up the forging process and even incorporating some marks and dimples in the pattern. Blacksmiths use different hammerheads to create the Tsuchime finish and to etch cool patterns on the knives. They might even vary the frequency of applying the hammering marks, and it is the ultimate expression of individualism and truly organic design. These Tsuchime finished knives are like indie films. Not everyone gets them, but those who do swear by them. Now, Damascus. Last but definitely not least, we've got the Damascus finish. Originating in a Middle Eastern place in antiquity with the same name, Damascus. This finish is as old as your grandma's stories. For centuries, Damascus etching methods were a closely guarded secret, and the true formula disappeared for good somewhere in the 18th century. But it entailed the use of various blade folding techniques, with some of the unique steel impurities adding to its awesome pattern. Modern-day Damascus pattern steel knives utilize different steel grades that are repeatedly folded together, usually around a pure knife-grade steel core. After the layering, they are heated together, hammered out, welded together, and the process repeated as the numbers of layers continues to grow exponentially. The result is the distinctive patterning forged from layers of steel, which looks really unique and really beautiful. The Damascus blade patterns are like a fingerprint. There is no copy-pasting. It's like having a one-of-a-kind art piece that just happens to be really good at chopping veggies. Damascus steel knives are generally slightly more expensive due to the elaborate forging process involved in making them, but they are worth it. This book of Dr. Larry Thomas, The Story of Knife Steel, does the most fantastic job of laying out the entire history and artistry behind the Damascus steel. I highly recommend reading this book. So there you have it, a quick glimpse into the glamorous world of knife finishes. Just remember, whether your knife looks like it's been to a fashion show or a rock concert, it's the cuts and slices it makes that matter most. Some chefs swear that certain finishes make food slide off the blade like a penguin on ice, but honestly, it's more about your knife skills and the knife's cross-sectional geometry. Whatever the finish you like to have most on your knife, it doesn't make the knife a better performing knife, and it sure doesn't make you a better cook.
What about cutting surfaces?
Cutting surfaces, where quality meets precision. Believe me, when it comes to knives, your cutting board matters more than the newsfeed of an influencer on Instagram. You wouldn't spend your hard-earned cash on a sleek Japanese knife just to let it dance on a crummy cutting board, right? Right? It's like dressing John Wick in Crocs. Plain wrong. Stop using your knife on a wet cutting board. Think about it. You've got this quality Japanese knife, sharper than the wit of Ricky Gervais, Bill Burr, Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle, Larry David, and Chris Rock combined. You want your cutting surface to be on the same level. Pairing a fine wine with artisanal cheese, fried rice with MSG. A match made in foodie heaven. The whole setup needs to harmonize. You're entering the realm of higher-end Japanese knives, my friends, and that's where cutting boards definitely come into play. But hold on to your aprons. Not all cutting boards are created equal. And yeah, I've got some advice on which cutting board surfaces are the cream of the crop. First up in our cutting board cast is the Asahi Barker Pro cutting board. It's my kitchen MVP for almost a decade. Trust me, it's like the Brad Pitt of cutting boards. Reliable, charismatic, guaranteed to steal the show. The only thing it doesn't do is making babies with Angelina Jolie. The Hasegawa cutting boards. These bad boys are like the Leo DiCaprio of cutting surfaces. Versatile, talented, and with a track record of delivering Oscar-worthy performances. Now let's also talk about the cutting board equivalent of a fashion disaster, the glass or marble cutting board. It's like dressing Gordon Ramsay in a clown suit. Disrespectful and utterly wrong. In my opinion, synthetic rubber cutting boards and the end-grain wooden cutting boards are the ultimate wingman for your Japanese knives. The synthetic rubber boards are like the low-maintenance best friend who's always got your back. They're kind to your knife's delicate edges, they're easy to clean, require minimal tender love and care, and are more hygienic than your OCD's neighbor's spotless living room. But if you are a fan of culinary eye candy, and grain wooden cutting boards are like the gourmet runway models. Stunning with that natural wood grain. In the grand drama of the culinary world, your cutting surface is a lead character. It's not just a place to chop, it's an integral part of your knife's performance. Get yourself a decent cutting board.
Can you say something about the different Japanese knife making regions?
Sure, let's unveil the knife map of Japan where blades are born. Different regions in Japan are like distinct characters in a knife-themed epic. Each brings its own flavor, history, and blade prowess to the table. Let's start with Seki, a city in Gifu Prefecture that's like the Willy Wonka's factory of knife production. You've got big names like Shun, Miyabi, and Mac cranking out Western-style Japanese knives. But wait, rewind. Seki's history goes all the way back to the samurai sword making, except they took that swordsmith hustle and infused it into the art of knife crafting. Seki is all about the factory production game, churning out knives in numbers that make your head spin. Because they are produced in higher numbers and have the economy of scale to their advantage, they can sell their knives at a somewhat lower price point. It's a well-oiled machine where every step from handle scales to heat treatment has its own superhero specialist. And yeah, the cool part about that, because they're doing the same thing over and over, they've become the knife ninjas of their craft. These knives have consistency and affordability wrapped in a samurai's embrace. Hop on over to Sakai, near Osaka. Seki and Sakai might sound the same, but they couldn't be more different from each other when it comes to producing knives. Unlike Seki, they mostly produce traditional Japanese single bevel knives. These knives are predominantly produced by hand in painstaking, labor-intensive and time-consuming processes. Sakai's artisans are crafting traditional single bevel knives.
Wait, single bevel knives? What was that again?
You have single bevel knives and double bevel knives. Traditional Japanese single bevel knives are like that eccentric artist in your neighborhood. Super specialized and delicately unique. Hyper-focused on one task in the kitchen. They know their strength, they have a purpose. For example, take the Deba. It's like the rock star of fish butchery. It breaks down fish like it's nobody's business. But here's the kicker. It's like that one-hit wonder song. It's killer at fish butchery, but asks you to handle anything else, and it's like a fish out of water. It's a fish whisperer, not an all-purpose guru. Seriously, never challenge a Deba to a bread slicing contest. It's like asking a rapper to sing opera. Then you have all these other traditional Japanese single bevel knives. The Yanagiba, the Usuba, and many more shapes for different specific tasks in the Japanese cuisine. For your everyday cooking adventures, double bevel knives are probably your best wingman. But if you're planning a fish butchery extravaganza, the Deba has got your back. It's all about picking the right tool for the job, folks. Anyway, back to Sakai. Sakai's artisans are crafting traditional single bevel knives in painstaking, labor-intensive and time-consuming processes. We're talking blacksmiths, sharpeners, and handle makers working in perfect harmony, like assembling the Avengers. Each member has their unique power, and when combined, they create magic. Sakai is like a knife-making ecosystem, with a wholesaler orchestrating this culinary ballet. And when it comes to the creme de la creme of traditional Japanese knives, Sakai takes the crown. Sakai is the #1 city. 90% of all the Japanese traditional knives are made in Sakai. 90% of all the Japanese traditional knives. There's one company in Sakai who does things a little bit differently. Ashi Hamano, they do everything in a non-standard way. They do everything in-house on their own. And while Sakai is well known for their single bevel knives, the Yanagiba, the Usuba, the Deba, highly special knives for the Japanese cuisine. Ashi Hamano makes double bevel knives, a kyuto, a peti, or sujihiki, or nakiri, generally more pertinent to the kind of cooking that we see in the West. Because over here, we're not all doing traditional Japanese Seki cooking, we're doing Italian food, or French food, or whatever non-Japanese cuisine type of food we're cooking. Next location, let's venture to Sanjo. Sanjo in Niigata Prefecture. In Sanjo, the mantra is handmade or bust. Unlike the assembly line buzz of Sakai, Sanjo is a place of artistry, where every craftsman is like a solo artist. Shigefusa, the stuff of legends, is one of the shining stars here. They are not just making knives, they are crafting history, using only traditional methods that date back to ancient times. It's a labor of love, or maybe madness. They are creating knives with a bit more soul and romance to it. Getting a Shigefusa knife is like adding a dash of Shakespeare to your knife collection. Over in Tsubame, also in Niigata Prefecture, it's like a manufacturing mecca. Tojiro knives, the affordable and versatile workhorses of the kitchen, hail from here. It's a place where modernity meets craftsmanship. Echizen in Fukui Prefecture is the middle child, blending elements of both Sakai and Sanjo. They're producing blades with a practical yet efficient approach. And it is also the location of the Takufu knife village, a concentrated hub of master blacksmiths and their apprentices. And finally, we have Tosa Yamada in Kurouchi Prefecture. Blades coming from Tosa have a very rugged, outdoorsy spirit. Their knives have a rustic charm that whispers tales of forests and adventures. It's like the Indiana Jones of cutlery. Don't be surprised if the fit and finish on these knives are a bit lacking, but they're affordable and still get the job done. So you've just embarked on a fast journey through the heartlands of knife craftsmanship. I for one like to appreciate the diversity of Japan's culinary artistry and savor every slice of history. Craftsmanship meets culinary artistry that's been centuries in the making. Japanese knives trace back over a millennium to the OG sword makers, the samurai. Yeah, we're talking ancient knife tradition here, folks. But after World War II, the sword making gig became as forbidden as women showing their nipples on social media. Guess what? Those blacksmiths channeled their inner knife making ninjas and started forging kitchen blades instead. Next time you're wielding a Japanese masterpiece, know that you're holding centuries of tradition, teamwork, and art in your hands. These knives are more than tools, they're usable pieces of art. Well, there you have it. I hope my rather lengthy rant made a little bit of sense to you and gave you a little peek into the secret life of Japanese knives and their makers. If you are living in the Netherlands or visiting, and if you happen to find yourself in the charming realm of Bad Hoeverdorp in the Netherlands, swing by the Meesterslijpers showroom, book an appointment, and I'll be your personal knife matchmaker. You will enjoy a private knife retail therapy shopping spree for your kitchen arsenal. We are also serving up sharpening courses and basic cutting skill classes. If you ever wondered how to turn a blade from meh to whoa, or if you're tired of fighting with your veggies dropping off the tip of your fingers and you want to get your basic cutting skills and techniques game on point, our sharpening and cutting courses are like a culinary bootcamp. Berend and I will be your drill surgeons. You don't buy a Japanese knife and then be an idiot while using and maintaining it. Life's too short to settle for subpar kitchen tools. Bears don't debate flies about why honey tastes better than poop. Don't let anyone rain on your knife buying parade. Go out there, get that dream knife, start slicing and dicing like a pro. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. If you got thoughts or questions, drop them down in the comment section. I like to see the comment section underneath my videos as a virtual kitchen table where we all gather to chat. Until next time, keep those blades sharp and those taste buds dancing. See you in the next one. Bye, folks.